Military families and members of Congress are sounding the alarm about a mental health crisis on board the USS Abraham Lincoln as sailors endure a record-breaking deployment tied to Trump's war with Iran. The Military Times reports that multiple sailors have tried to jump overboard in terrible conditions previously reported on by MS Now. That includes food and water shortages, moldy showers and broken toilets, and laundry machines. The crew is currently in its 9th month on the ship, including more than 250 consecutive days at sea. Annabelle Loma, the wife of a sailor who tried to jump, told the Military Times her husband, who is now on medical hold, is scared. Quote, he thinks he'll get a dishonorable discharge, and just because he was burnt out, his 13-year-old career is ruined just like that. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not what he should be worrying about right now. Joining me now, Democratic Congressman and Marine Corps vet Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. It just defies belief that this is what is happening to Americans in service to this country. We know that Senator Blumenthal has asked the Navy to account for the conditions. What more can Congress be doing?
Thanks for having me on. Stop this war. There was a saying in my company when I was a Marine officer, mission first, Marines always. Marines, sailors, soldiers, when they deploy, they understand that they're going to be asked to sacrifice, that they're going to have to yield personal comfort towards a higher purpose. But they deserve a clearly articulated, strategically compelling mission that is legal and that is being competently executed. What they are getting right now in the Strait of Hormuz is a cataclysm. This commander-in-chief lied. He conducted and launched an illegal war. And he is now furiously trying to backtrack out of this failure. And those who are left holding the bag are these service members.
No, and meanwhile, you have the Vice President of the United States saying that we are only in the middle of this, which I don't even believe is a correct assertion. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the U.S. is preparing to send the USS George Washington aircraft carrier to replace the USS Lincoln as part of a previously scheduled rotation plan. Why did it take, Congressman, 250 consecutive days for this to happen?
Because there was no plan for this war. This president launched this war without consulting allies, without consulting Congress, without consulting his own cabinet. He launched this war in a Situation Room meeting with his comms director, his deputy comms director, but without his Secretary of Energy, his Secretary of Defense. And we are seeing now that the chairman of Joint Chiefs understands the loss of readiness, both in terms of munitions and in terms of troop readiness that this war has caused. But the president is not taking this counsel, and he's increasingly acting like a drunk driver, and Congress has to take over the wheel.
It is striking to me the contrast between what we are hearing from military families and military spouses who are taking the, what I would call, brave step of going on the record and sharing what is happening to their loved ones, and the hear no evil, see no evil response we are getting from the Navy. This is what a Navy spokesperson said, quote, we have not observed an increase in suicidal ideations aboard the ship. We take every service member's well-being seriously and have medical and mental health professionals available to assess and address concerns as they arise. What do you make of that response from the Navy?
It's a failure of leadership that comes from the very top. The Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army, these are proud American institutions built on good order and discipline and execution of a mission. And when the very top of the chain of command is corrupt, is incompetent, cannot articulate a mission, cannot execute a mission, it starts to corrode the very basis of that good order and discipline. This is what makes me so worried about the continuation of this quagmire in the Middle East, is that however bad it is right now, it could get so much worse if Congress does not take away the reins from this president. And I understand people's objection to that. They say, listen, how are you going to pass a war powers resolution out of the Senate? The president will veto, et cetera. People were saying that about the Epstein files, too. It went slowly and then it went suddenly. The same thing has to happen here.
To the point you made about leadership, you have repeatedly called on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to resign. If Democrats are to take back control of Congress, will impeachment be a priority?
Yes, it should be. Absolutely. We need an inquiry. We need oversight and investigations. And if the facts yield an impeachment recommendation, we need to pursue that vigorously. This man was unqualified and incompetent to the post on day one, and he has underperformed those abysmal expectations.
Here's part of what I think is interesting, which is the critique that we have heard of Hegseth has come almost exclusively from Democrats. What is new in this moment, I think, is that we're starting to hear some concern on the part of Republicans. You have Politico reporting that Hegseth is facing pressure from Republicans who are themselves concerned about the fact that he's shutting out Democrats from classified briefings. The reason they are concerned is they believe that could jeopardize his push for a Pentagon budget increase. Senator Tillis is quoted as saying he calls himself the Secretary of War, but ironically, he doesn't want to go to war and win the argument with nearly half of the members of the Senate. You got to engage. Have you heard that concern from your Republican colleagues?
In private, but you and I both know how Republicans in Congress are, right? They talk a big game privately and then they fold publicly. They'll continue to do that, which is why Democrats need to take back the House and the Senate so that instead of belly aching, we can issue subpoenas, we can do real oversight. And Hegseth is going to be number one. I think the fact pattern that gets revealed with Democrats in charge is going to be even more inculpatory than what has even emerged to date. And I think he's not going to be able to hold on to his post.
Can you vote for the Pentagon budget with the current level of visibility you have into the president's war plans?
No, I voted against NDA authorization. I'll vote against the appropriations for it because this is appropriations for a war that is illegal. It was illegal on day one. It's illegal today. And I will not support any funding or any congressional authorization for this president to conduct these operations in the Middle East.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thank you so much, sir, for your time.